Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, for anybody who owns a company, or if you're responsible for a team, you're the leader, this is for you. How do you effectively lead a team? This gentleman wrote the book on it. No, literally, I mean, he wrote the book on it, an autobiography that's fantastic, that really does speak about all of we're talking about. And he's coached people on this for years and kind of encapsulated his life and his experiences in his autobiography. And it's great to have him back here. Randy Swaim is on the program. Hey, Randy.
Hey, good to see you. Glad to be here again, Steve.
Yeah, your book, super interesting and super insightful in terms of helping people lead. It sounds like it's easy enough to do if you're in a position. You got there for a reason.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean you're most qualified for that position.
You know, and it's interesting. I'll just kind of share this that that I posted on social media, and I'd have to go back and look on it to remind myself of who the name of the author that said it. But it was very true. I shared it because what it said is if you never stop learning, if you keep learning, you will constantly be rising in life. And you know what? The leadership journey is not just doing this one thing, getting to here, and then trying to force everybody to pat me on the back for it or somebody else. But it's about constantly going with wherever you are you going to the next step with wherever that is? And it's just some aspect about that. And then with the autobiography, I think I mentioned to you briefly on the last show that we were on together here, which I think it was 2 weeks ago. I've actually been very humbled at the reactions that I've gotten from people that have read it and gaining the insights and sensing it and everything. And so I just, but it really is my journey has been a journey of learning, of growing and becoming, and really getting a sense of true, honest to goodness leadership. And that's what a lot of people don't know. You know, you think about it, when you're talking about leadership, and very often in our society right now, people just go with little mental pictures of academics where they say, well, my job is to just sit here and point my finger at you and just tell you what to do and all that. You know what? First of all, you're not modeling anything that's beneficial, and you're not really leading. And that's what a lot of people don't do. I mean, last 2 weeks ago when we were on, I shared one or two things that people had said about my autobiography and messaged me on it and everything. And I've been sort of blown away about it. And I will say this, that there's one lady that, and by the way, this is not anything romantic or anything like that, just a friend and a colleague kind of thing over at work. And it turned out she wanted to get a copy of my autobiography. So I figured I'd just kind of autograph it like I do, and then give her a copy of it and stuff, because I know her well and we're connected, you know, professionally and all that. And as soon as she saw me give that to her and saw the little, you know, autograph and stuff that I put in there, and I always put it in as appreciation to my valued friend, and then their name kind of thing. And she actually stood up and gave me a friendly hug, you know, kind of thing, and all that kind of stuff. And it was just very respectful and very positive. But you know what? The thing I throw out to people, if you're looking to truly lead your team, and if you think about it, when you look at it from alignment of this organizational maneuverability stuff, if you're truly looking to lead your team in ways where they're going to be successful in overcoming the struggles in challenging, unpredictable environments, that doesn't happen just because you're pointing fingers and telling them what to do. And that's what a lot of people don't realize when they just go back to that rote academic picture. And I will say this, that if you think about it, I've given a lot of examples on the show in the past and everything, but you remember I was sitting down with a guy who was an executive organizational executive for years, and basically he let me kind of spend the night at his house while we were getting ready for a leadership conference, kind of thing, and stuff like that. And sitting there in the on the couch the next morning, just having a cup of tea or stuff, getting ready to get dressed and go to the conference and everything. And one of the things that he said is, he looked at me and he said, "You know what, Randy? There's one thing I truly appreciate about you." And by the way, when he said this, it's nothing that I told him. It's nothing that I tried to sell him on or anything like this. But he simply said, "You mind if I share one thing with you that I observe in you?" And I said, "Sure, go ahead." And this is what he said. He said, "It is clear that you never quit, even when it's tough. In your journey," he said, "you never give up. You keep going." And you know what? I so appreciate it. I so appreciate that about you, Randy. And what I want to sort of share to people is that when you're talking about your leadership and all that, it's not about you playing some rote academic game. It's not about you pointing fingers and dictating and saying, "You know what, you better do what I tell you to do, or we're going to kind of discipline you," and all this sort of stuff. You gotta build the relationship with your people in such a way that they understand, first of all, about where you guys are going and about what your relationship is going to be like, and how they're going to kind of be able to contribute to that, to make that truly successful in a way that doesn't just depend on you dictate, point fingers and stuff, but people really become synergistic in what you're trying to accomplish, what the mission of your team is, and what that really looks like, and where you're going to go, particularly in situations that are not overly predictable, kind of thing. So it's really good. Go ahead.
In all the years that you've led teams and been involved in many different situations, what do you feel was the biggest leadership challenge you had to face? Anything stand out in your mind?
Well, I will tell you this, that the biggest thing that I've ever had to face is sort of a twofold thing. And one is when I had to be very honest, but I couldn't let my emotions drive it. I had to be very honest with something. And also kind of when you had to speak the truth about something, but to do it in a way where you're not coming across as control freakish, but you're really just communicating and things of that nature. It's interesting that very often when you do that and you do it in a good way, so that the people that you're communicating with experience you in a different way, amazing things can happen. And I think I shared on a show a long time ago that's how I was selected as the site manager for the our strategic air defense training contract detachment at Griffiths Air Force Base, because the manager that was there before me, you may remember that I've shared this one time before, but the manager before me was got into a real challenge with people. They didn't trust him. He was playing some games that just disconnecting everybody and all of this sort of stuff. Well, the corporate executive who was in charge of the entire program, nationwide kind of thing, and actually international wide too, called me at my home one day, and he said, he was asking me about my perception, because he says, "Randy, I know you don't have any axes to grind, and I know that you don't have anything you're trying to pitch out with it and everything." And he said, "So would you be honest with me? Would you communicate with me?" I said, "Are you looking for whatever this or that?" And I said, "Are you recording this?" He said, "No." He said, "I'm not going to hide what you say, but I'm not going to go out there and use it per se." But he said, "I just want to know." And I said, "You know what? We'll have a conversation." And we did. And at the very end, he asked me, he said, "What's needed down there?" And I told him basically one thing, and he was blown away by that. And he said, "Well, that's interesting." And I said, "Well, I know." And he said, "Why do you say that?" And I gave him two answers. And he said, "Wow." And about 30 seconds later, after he was just thinking, he said, Randy, would you go down there and do that? And I said, Chuck, are you asking me what I think you're asking me? And he said, yes, I am. I said, well, I'll tell you what, you go have whatever conversations you need to have with anybody out there. And then if you still want me to and call me up, then I will. And guess what? That's how I was chosen. But you know what? There are times when you have to make the right call, but not in a dictatorial thing, not in a way where I'm just trying to go like this to make you just capitulate to what I'm telling you, stuff. But it's basically just communicating some truthful awareness of it so that they feel oneness with it. And I shared this with you before that about 3 months after I took over, I was the company published a document, and in it they said Randy took a problem site and turned it into the showcase of the company in minimum time, quote unquote.
Wow.
And it was like, wow. And that's actually in the book kind of thing. So the book kind of covers some of that. But the bottom line is, when you're talking about it, it's not just about you dictating and controlling and pointing fingers. It's truly how people experience you. If you are truly leading your team in an effective way, people want to follow you, and they want to be part of this. And if you're doing it in such a way that they experience that and feel that, guess what? Magical things can happen. And you see that a lot in my autobiography, some of the pictures in there, particularly when you're talking about some of the struggles and everything. For me, one of the big struggles was overcoming what I had to overcome from my childhood and everything. That, there's a lot I had to overcome in that. And in writing the book, I included total honesty. And there's a couple of people that applauded me for the way I did that. And because, so often today, so often today in books, people just want to call attention to themselves and have everybody applauding them. No, what I did is I brought total honesty to it. Does it talk about my defining moments? Does it talk about my growth and becoming? Yep. Does it talk about where I became and where I am now? Yep. But it's not just about you. It's about the experience people have where they kind of connect with you a little bit. And that's actually one of the things that my friend from high school kind of wrote up there. And if you don't mind, I'll just share this just real quick.
Please do.
And this is, I have not seen her since high school. And that was 1972. So that was like 52 years ago kind of thing. I have not seen her once, except for 2022 when we went to the 50th reunion of the high school class and everything, and we saw each other for the first time in 50 years kind of thing. Wow. But the bottom line is she sent me this message on Facebook, and I'll just share part of it with you. Not the entire thing, but she wished me happy birthday because last Friday was my birthday, and that's when she sent it to me. But then she said, I finished your book while relaxing in the mountains. You have accomplished so much professionally. She said, I'm extremely proud to know you. It took so much grit and courage to fly, and your commitment to our country, to safety, to training others. I can't begin to say more than the accolades you have already received. And then she kind of said a couple of sentences just about, growing from parents getting, not doing it well and all that sort of stuff. But then she said, you are a fine Christian man. She said, you would have been a wonderful husband and father had you grown up more faster in your personal life with that, from that outcome. And wow. Then she said this, she said, I feel very valued to have received this book. I always thought of you as one of the good guys in school, smart, thoughtful, a gentleman. And she said, I'm glad my intuition was right, even way back then. And then she just said, hugs to you, my friend, kind of thing. But it's like, for listeners that are listening here, my question to you as something to think about as you go away from here today is, when you look at your teammates, also when you look at your bosses, your executive bosses, what is their true experience from you? It's not how are you controlling them. It's not how are you trying to make it so that they're just kind of go along with what you say and all this sort of stuff. It's not just that. It's how are you truly helping them experience who you are, what you're doing, what you're leading in them, what your team is doing, what your goals are, what your vision is for the company, and all of that kind of stuff. Because here's the thing, if they inside here, if they have a real sense that, oh, yeah, guess what? They're going to do everything to try to make it work. And here's the thing, even when you're not present there for 1 or 2 days or whatever, and something comes up, guess what? They can probably find the great solution because their ability has, really visioned that and seen it in light of where you're going as a team. And but I will say this too, just as a simple aspect, that when you're talking about making that really occur in your team, it doesn't happen overnight. And it doesn't happen just because you point fingers. And it doesn't happen because you just lay down a dictate. Now, are there times as a leader where you got to do that? Yeah, there are. If there's something that's illegal or unethical or something like that, and you need to kind of twist it, yeah, there are times when you do that. But how you do it is key, because you can do that. And I shared this, I think, with you, Steve, a couple of times on a show long previous to this. But there were a couple of times when I had to do that with somebody who worked for me, but I did it in such a way that they were still part of the team and wanted to be. And that, that's part, when you're talking about leadership, it's not just about that academic control freak stuff. It's about what are your teammates and your people really experiencing with you. And when you're talking about trying to lead and model that in a positive way, that doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen at the point of attack. It happens because of their experience that is built as you're going through the journey. And that's what a lot of people don't fully understand. And the lady that gave me that big hug over at the airport when I, gave her that book, we've talked, and she's a very nice lady. I consider her a friend and colleague and stuff, but but I will say this, that I think we've had probably maybe 15 or 18 short 1.5-minute conversations, just business related, kind of thing.
Sure.
And all that. But apparently there was something within our experience as two colleagues. And I can tell with other people that I work with there that they sort of sense the same thing, that there's something about the experience that makes them sort of want to be a part of this. And when I say this, I don't mean just my autobiography. I mean kind of what we're doing. But when you're talking about leading your team as a leader, it's not just about playing an academic game. It's not just about pointing your fingers. It's not just about challenging people and threatening people and telling people where to go and all that. And in fact, it's not just about you. And in fact, I shared a post on social media, I think it was yesterday, that showed a picture of me sitting at Griffiths Air Force Base in front of an airplane with all of our team there. And one of the things that I said is, well, I'll tell you what, when your team is successful, ... that is your success. And you know what? That's true. If you lead them in such a way that they grow and become, and that potential, that vision, that oneness is truly built, so that when something happens, boy, it's taken care of and it's successfully achieved, and all that. That's a big aspect of it. And that was a key part of a lot of the experience in my autobiography for a lot of my journey. That's one of the things that I truly learned and led. And I will say this, that you've heard me say this before, but General Richard B. Myers, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff from 2001 to 2005, was my squadron commander when I was with the 4th TAC Fighter Wing back in, back in 1981 to 1985 kind of thing. So about 40 years ago kind of thing. But you know what? We flew together, and I tell people, and I included this in the biography too, that he's the finest leader with whom I've ever served. And I will say this, that I learned so much from him, not because of anything he ever said or not because of anything he ever told me. I learned so much from him by experiencing what he did and how he led and how he did things. And that, for those, for those years together there, that's where I learned so much. And this is all this that I'm talking about here is part of that aspect, that the aspect of, is your team really experiencing something in your teamwork together and in what you're doing? If you're just trying to play control freak games, which is so common in today's world, you're not leading and you're not getting it done truthfully, really. Now, are there times where you got to dictate something? Are there times when you got to do something? Yes, there are. No two ways about it. Okay. But if you're leading the team effectively over time, they're going to be growing so that when something challenging comes on the scene, guess what? You don't have to do very much because they're all ready for it. And that's an aspect of this that is a key lesson from my life journey, my professional journey, and things like that. And in fact, that's just a little bit a part of kind of what she sent to me. Again, I didn't include her name because I didn't ask her if I could share that kind of thing. So I'm not.
But the sentiment is there. You feel it.
Yeah, the sentiment is there, but that's just a key aspect when you're talking about truly leading a team, and particularly when you're talking about leading a team in an rapidly changing, unpredictable environment, that factors come on scene that you wouldn't have predicted. And guess what? In today's world, that happens a lot.
In talking with you today, I have seen flashes of people I've worked under over the years, and right away I can see them put into certain categories. This one was a dictator. Now, I'm not being negative here. I'm just stating my view.
Just being honest.
It really is what it is.
Yeah.
And somebody who wanted you to think that they were transparent and honest, but they really weren't. Then there was somebody else who was a little bit better, but still had, a power play going on there.
Yeah.
Then there was somebody else that this is successors in this position that now is just you feel like he's a regular guy. He's got the authority, but he asks questions. He wants to learn. He doesn't have all the answers, but you still respect him, and you've got him up there.
And when he asks questions, not only is he learning, but he's asking questions in a way that you learn.
Sure.
And what it is you both learn together, and that's awesome. That's awesome.
And then there's others you think of that had egos, where if you were looking good for a little while, they would kind of want to squash you down because it doesn't make them look good. There's so many different dynamics, but by and large, in my mind, many of them should have taken your coaching.
Well, I tell you what, that's a key aspect of true leadership in today's world that so many people do not understand, because for decades of history, it's been a total different picture. And you know what? But that is true leadership. It's not just managing. It's not just dictating. It's true leadership and really developing that within your team. And so, it's really a very important part.
Yeah. Congrats again on the book. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well received. Great reviews. Has great stories in there, inspirational as well. And if anybody wants to even start a conversation to work with you, I know that you always say, and I'm going to say it for you, that you're not pushy sales pitch or anything like that. You're all about the conversation. Coachingforrelevance.com. Go there, learn a little bit, how you might be able to help somebody. And if it feels like the right fit, take it on to the next step and see where that goes.
There you go. And that's a key. It's really about connecting with people and building it, in your life's journey and stuff. And guess what? Sometimes there have been cases where a 10 or 15 minute conversation was dramatic for the person that I was doing that, because I asked the right question that just made them go, whoa, pooh. Right. And guess what? Did they need coaching? No. Now, there's a lot of people that try to pull you in and get your money. I don't do that because that's not what I'm here for. I mean, if we need to do something, will we come up with something for that? Yeah. But the bottom line is, a lot of times it's just one question that comes up that somebody didn't understand and wasn't thinking about. And guess what? That can be revolutionary. And guess what? If that's revolutionary in 10 minutes, I'm okay with that, because guess what?
Sure.
I made a difference.
Yeah,
and that's cool.
And that's your purpose here in life, and it's very clear your passion, and you're so grounded. It's weird for me to say grounded to a pilot.
You know what? That. Well, in our case, grounded is with the gear up and up at 25,000 feet or whatever.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. See, I just learned something else. Coachingforrelevance.com.
Just joking. Yeah.
Randy, thanks for being here today. Appreciate it.
Okay. Listen, we'll see you again. Thanks, Steve. Yep. Appreciate it.
Coming right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.